At the front end of almost every wedding ceremony I do, I have these words. Marriage is a holy union between a husband and wife, established in heaven by the divine wisdom and kindness of God, who said it is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helpmate. In being made out of Adam's side, it shows that Eve was made equal with him, not out of his head to dominate him or out of his feet to be walked on by him. She was made out of his side, a place of equality, safety by his protecting arm, and near to his heart to be loved. The Washington Post published an article pointing out the importance of strong marriages in communities. The higher the marriage rate in a community, the lower the crime rates, the more stable the children, thus the safer the schools. The more stable the marriage in a community, there's a disappearance, the safety of the middle class. There's a stronger middle class. With the disappearance of marriage is a disappearance of the middle class. Now, this crosses over racial and socioeconomic statuses. On top of that, there was a study done in January of 2015. New York Magazine, The New Yorker, the BBC, and even WebMD did an article on the study called The Happiness Factor. To boil it down, they did studies of different ages of people who were married and people who were single, especially those who chose to be single. And what they found was across the board, across the ages, those who were married had a higher happiness factor or a higher happiness level. Repeated studies showed the cost benefits, relational benefits of marriage, and the university studies at the University of Florida, University of Chicago, University of Zurich, and other universities showed that married people are more pleased with their sex lives than single counterparts at every age level. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that marriage is easy. Marriage is not easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. Marriage, as a matter of fact, can actually be one of the most frustrating relationships that you have. It can be one of the most frustrating events of your life. And if you've been married more than 4 days, you can agree with me on that one. I think I've told you this before, but the first fight that Gina and I had, a couple weeks into our marriage, it was really deep. She wanted to make me a surprise dinner, and it was in the oven cooking, and she was excited. But in my house, the way I grew up, when Mom was cooking, everybody walked through the kitchen, reached in the bowl, and tried whatever she was cooking, opened the stove to see what was being cooked, and that's how you knew and you prepared yourself for what you were going to eat. It was kind of like the pre-meal meal to prepare you for the meal. So Gina says, I'm preparing you a surprise, don't look in the oven. And I'm like, who eats a surprise? That's like elementary school food, and I don't do that anymore. So I was going to peek, and she was like, you can't peek, it's a surprise. And I'm like, I don't eat surprises. She was like, if you look, I'm not going to give it to you. And if I don't look, I'm not going to eat it. I told you, really deep stuff. And then the second big argument that I remember that followed suit, you ready? It had to do with a hanging plant. A hanging plant. So Gina buys this hanging plant. I can still picture her putting it up in our little apartment in the corner, and the kind and loving words out of my mouth were, I hate hanging plants. But I want to make this my home. Well, can't we put the hanging plant on the floor and just kind of let it do its thing all over the ground? Marriages can be the high point and the most challenging points in life. Now, this will be the third time in a year that we've talked about marriage. So this is not going to be an all-encompassing study in 30 minutes. And if you want more details about what does the Bible have to say about marriage, I want to point you to two previous messages we did this year. The first one was on August 16th, and you can go on the website, look any of these up. August 16th, Bill and Ryan spoke about husbands and wives and biblical roles of husbands and wives. They did a great job on it. The second one was on February 14th, Valentine's Day. We talked about husbands and wives, the relationships, the interaction between them. And if you want to find out, once again, more, you can go online and look up our February 14th message. It's part 7 of the series in Colossians. Now, today's message I've entitled Ladies and Gentlemen. Because as you're going to see today, Peter puts a very strong emphasis on how we're supposed to treat each other when we get married. And if you're about to get married, please take notes today. Please make sure you hear the big picture of this, because this can stop a lot of problems before they happen. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a title of respect. You want to know that your spouse is your best friend. You want to know that they are a fun place to be, a safe place to be. But you also want to know that you're more than just a bud. You're more than just the person they give the honey-do list to with a punch list of items that need to get done for chores. It's a level of respect. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please turn with me to 1 Peter chapter 3, page 858 in the Bibles in the seat backs in front of you. 1 Peter chapter 3. Now let me give you a little background as we're going there. Peter is writing, and he starts this passage off in verse 1. He's writing to a woman who has become a Christ follower. She's become a follower of Jesus, but her husband has not. Now, in this time frame, if a husband became the Christian first, if he decided to follow Jesus, he could look at his family and say, honey, put the kids in the buggy, we're going to church. And he had the authority to do that. A wife, on the other hand, had no authority. She couldn't open her mouth about it. She couldn't influence the kids that way. Nothing. But the traits that Peter gives this person that he's writing to, this information that he's giving, isn't just for ladies with husbands who aren't followers of Christ. These are godly character traits that you'll see the Apostle Paul in his writings about marriage confirm. They both say the same thing. He also, by the way, has some words here for husbands, for gentlemen. 1 Peter chapter 3, beginning with verse 1. It says, wives, in the same way, submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that if any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without words by the behavior of their wives, when they see the purity and reverence of your lives. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. For this is the way the holy women of the past who put their hope in God used to make themselves beautiful. They submitted themselves to their own husbands, like Sarah, who obeyed Abraham and called him her Lord. Pause right there. This word here, what she's saying, what Peter is writing is he says, Sarah submitted herself to Abraham as her husband. Not all men. This isn't wives being under all men. This is Sarah who submitted herself to her husband and called him her Lord, lowercase l, small l. As one theologian put it, it would be the same as saying, my dearest or my one and only husband. This is the title reserved for only him. This is a place of honor that I only give him. This is not a capital L. Ladies, your husband is not your God. Can I get an amen on that one? Amen. Yeah, I thought so. Let's read on. It says, you are her daughters if you do what is right and do not give way to fear. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. So what does Peter say here to ladies and gentlemen? First, ladies, he says, your beauty comes from the inside out. Your beauty comes from the inside out. He says in verse 3 through 5, that your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. Ladies, Peter is not saying here to walk around in burlap bags, not taking care of yourself. Don't worry or don't look at the outside. You take care of yourself. What he's saying here is don't find your value on what's on the outside. Our society is built on the outside. Our society is built on what the outside looks like. But I will promise you this, if the deepest your wife or your fiance is at the moment of her last selfie, you are going to have a very shallow relationship and very shallow conversations. Ladies, your beauty starts from the inside out, not the outside. Ladies, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Your husband likes when you look nice. Your husband likes when you look nice. Now, some husband is going to throw me under the bus today. You're going to go home and go, no, baby, I like the really raggedy sweatpants you have with the oversized robe, and when you put that white creamy stuff on your face and leave it there, and the hair rollers, that's my favorite. You could just walk around all day like that. Do women even use rollers anymore? Okay, the point is, sorry. They like when you look nice. They like when you look nice. But if I were to poll the room of men, I would be willing to bet you that they, over the long run, more greatly value your character, your integrity, the trust they can have in you, than over the way you look. If you got married young and you've been married 25, 30, 40 years, the outside's going to change. It doesn't look the way it used to. I look in the mirror and where things were isn't where they are anymore. That changes, but your character, your integrity, ladies, your husbands, gentlemen, value that. Don't play that down. I have a friend, and I asked him if I could share this illustration, and he said, yes, I've known him since I was 18 years old. He married his wife, she's a pretty lady, and 2 kids later, and 20 years into marriage, and it comes out she's been in the middle of a 10-year affair. Everything they had was based on a facade on the outside. They had to call their grown daughters in college and let them know everything we had when you were in your young children years all the way through your teen years, all a front. What we saw as this happy family, all a front. Ladies, your gentlemen love and appreciate the character and integrity of the person God has called you to be. Gentlemen, can I challenge you today that if you are married to a lady of integrity and character, let her know what it means to you. Let her know the value that it carries in your eyes and in your heart, to know that you can trust her, to know that you know what she says she means. Let her know how much you appreciate the traits of a godly woman that she displays. And if you're not married yet, maybe you're engaged, and you don't see these traits in your spouse, I would encourage you to pay attention to the red flags. And as a matter of fact, I'd probably tell you to run the other way. Because marriage is meant for life, and these character traits you want to be throughout the marriage. So gentlemen, what does Peter say to us in this passage? He says, be the man your lady needs you to be. Be the man your lady needs you to be. Verse 7, it says, husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect. Another translation says, show them honor as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, of Christ's salvation, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. Gentlemen, I want you to understand something. You are married to God's daughter. You are married to God's daughter. She is an heiress of the universe. How many of you in here have sons? Can I see a show of hands? How many of you have daughters? Can I see a show of hands? As a dad, there's something different in your heart toward your daughters. I have both sons and daughters. I love all 4 of them, but there's something different about a dad's heart toward a daughter. There's something protective that kicks in. There's something that I don't know if I can put it into words, but if you've got a daughter, you know what I'm talking about. So I have a friend in Florida, and one of my daughters and his daughters were growing up and starting to be noticed by boys right around the same time. Now, my friend, his name is Chris. He stands close to 6'5" and probably pushes close to 300 pounds. And not biscuits and gravy 300 pounds. I mean, if there was a bear and Chris, my money would be on Chris. He's just that kind of guy. He's huge, big dude. You don't want to mess with him. So Chris's daughter, her name was Mariah. She had a friend coming over, a guy, and Chris told me he was taking this boy in the other room, and he was going to tell this young 14, 15-year-old boy, wherever you plan on putting your hands on my daughter tonight, I want you to put them on me. the boy left the puddle. And Chris was the type of guy, as they were going out the door, to be like, go out, have fun. I'll just be here cleaning my guns. There's something about a dad's heart that's protective toward a daughter. And ladies, I want you to know you are loved by your heavenly daddy. To the point that, gentlemen, it says the way we treat his daughter will directly affect how he hears us. It affects our prayer lives. Ladies, you are loved. Gentlemen, we have a responsibility to take care of the daughters of the king. We have a high calling and responsibility to do that. Peter goes on to say, even if she is physically weaker vessel, she is an heir of grace. She is alongside us in this run of life. And ladies, I want to challenge you. Please don't view this statement as demeaning or belittling. Physical weakness is generally the case for women compared to men. That's why in the Olympics, in speed or in strength events, there are no women against men. It's just generally the case. But just because steel is stronger than gold doesn't mean that steel is worth more than gold. Don't take that as a demeaning statement. We're just different. Now, ladies, if you have a husband who treats you with respect, who treats you with honor, who gives you those times where you just feel like you are worth something, can you let him know that sometime this week? Maybe before this day is out, let them know what it means to you that you feel valued. If there is something specific that he does, if there are times or events that just make you feel special, can you let him know that? And here's a little secret, ladies. We may act like we don't hear it, but we're taking notes. Yeah, good. I'm glad you enjoyed that mental note. Let them know what they mean to you. Let them know what their character, they're showing you honor, their respect. Let them know what it means to you. So we see the charges to ladies, we see the charges to gentlemen. Now let's look at the charge to both. And this is the finally. Finally, be nice. Be nice. Can you turn to the person beside you and just say, be nice? Turn to the person on the other side of you, just say, be nice. Peter spells this out in the next passage, beginning with verse 10. It says, for whoever would love life and see good days must keep their tongue from evil and their lips from deceitful speech. They must turn from evil and do good. They must seek peace and pursue it. Seek peace and pursue it. How would that change your marriage and your home? Seek peace and pursue it. Verse 12, it says, for the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. Who is going to harm you if you are eager to do good? Who is going to harm you if you're eager to do good? Ladies, are you going to be upset if you know your husbands are out to do good to you? Gentlemen, are you going to be upset if you know that your wives are out to do good for you? Once your suspicions drop, you'll appreciate it. You'll greatly appreciate it. Our desire should not be to harm, but to do good. Who is going to harm you if you are eager to do good for each other? Now, I married pretty young. I was 1 month after my 21st birthday. So at 20, I was in a conversation with my dad, and we were talking about marriage, and my dad gave me a piece of advice that I tie into every wedding I do to this day, and he simply said, be kind to each other. Be kind to each other. Don't make them the butt of your jokes. Don't rip on them. Don't take a bad day at work out on them. Don't take your frustration with the kids out on him or her, even if that child is acting just like your spouse. Don't take your anger on politics out on them. Just do what the verse says. Even if you're not deeply religious, even if you're still just kind of looking at Christianity, you can see the value of what this Bible passage says. Pursue peace. Be eager to do good. Be kind to each other. Sometimes it's hard. Even if you feel like they deserve what you're about to say, and maybe you're right. But the way the Bible says it is even when you speak the truth in love. Diffuse the situation. Don't pour gasoline on the fire. How do we do this? The passage says, keep your tongue from evil and your lips from deceitful speech. Turn from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Now, as we're in the series entitled Family Matters, we're talking about family issues, but why does family matter on this topic? And there's 4 quick reasons why family matters, how this impacts family. First of all, your marriage affects your whole life. You are partners in this life. You are in this thing together. My home is not Jack Guerra's home. My home is Guerra Incorporated. And Gina is my partner in every aspect of our home and our lives. We rise together, we fall together. We celebrate together, we're challenged together. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. You're partners in this life. The Bible says, this passage says that we are co-heirs. We're in this together. We lift each other up. We encourage each other in our faith. It's a call and a responsibility. We rise and fall as a team. Secondly, happy wife, happy life. And if you're about to get married, star that one. Happy wife, happy life. Now, I will say this. This is a responsibility of both the husband and the wife. Ladies, you know what your attitude is. You know the position and place of your heart towards your husband, towards your kids. We have to watch what we say. We can't always just blurt out the first thing on our minds. That's for wives and husbands. Husbands, be smart. Be wise. Don't pour gasoline on the fire if you know there's already a fire. Learn the times to be quiet. Learn the times to speak the truth in love, and learn the times to just nod. It's a great gift for husbands to have. Thirdly, men, know your purpose. Know your purpose. And once again, I'd say this is a responsibility of both the husband and the wife. We all have blind spots. We all do. And when God brings us a partner in this life, sometimes they are able to help us see the spots we can't see. I live in a little bit more of a gray world than Gina does. Gina is very black and white. Very black and white. She doesn't know we have a color TV. She lives in a black and white world. Gina helps me see clearly sometimes when the gray is just too blurry for me to make out a clear next step. I need that in my life. We have a responsibility, men, to know our purpose. We don't live in the pioneer days anymore. A man's role is not to go out and kill a bear or a deer and be able to feed their children. We can run to the pig and we can pick up dinner. So our roles may have changed in that way, but we still have the responsibility to be an example of God in our homes and in our neighborhoods. You still are needed to be an example of God to your children. Set the example for your sons and daughters. Be an example they can look up to. Set an example that they can follow. You don't have to have all the answers. God has sent you a partner in this walk. But men, know your purpose in the home. And then finally, remember this, husbands and wives, ladies and gentlemen, you set the tone. You set the tone in your marriage and you set the tone in your home. It's the difference between having a house living on edge and always being nervous and having a home of joy. The passage says to be like-minded, be on the same page, be on the same team. A great team isn't built just around one person. A great team is a great team because it understands the abilities of all its players. Be on the same team. In your marriage, you may not have the most money. You may not be the most dazzling looking couple. You may not have dream jobs, but you have each other. You may not be able to spend all of your time together and vacation globally. But God has brought you each other. You will have some moments of very intense fellowship. But the challenge I'd leave you this is, remember this, you are a team. You are ladies and gentlemen who are to treat each other as ladies and gentlemen. You will win and lose. You rise and fall. You celebrate. You cross the finish line as co-heirs together.